Today's video, we're going to talk about direct-to-consumer marketing versus using distributors or resellers to sell your products. Which one is better? What's more profitable, less risky to do, has a higher success rate, and overall better? Given there's definitely pros and cons to each, I'm going to go over what those are. So if you're deciding whether you should be switching over from one to the other, or just in general which one to pick, I'm going to go through all the details on that on today's video, giving you some examples, different companies we work with that used one or the other, switch. If you stay to the end of the video, I'll tell you about how much more was made with those individual instances, so you understand how much you can go, how much more you can make going one versus the other for your business. So respectively, the main thing I can tell you before I do get into this content is doing a direct-to-consumer business model is going to be the most profitable for your business. It's just the hardest to get into in terms of it's expensive to hire competent marketing people that can actually get you results because you have to do better than your competition, and your competition's already got a huge head start on you. So unless you're going to go hard and heavy with it, you're wasting your time, and you should stick with the distributors and settle for the lower profit you can make doing that. So I'll go into, though, the pros and cons on each and how to actually decide this for yourself so you end up having and can replicate the kind of results that we're getting with our clients using one versus the other, and ultimately how you can make the most money for your business. Before I get into the content, though, if you do not know who I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guarantee PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain minimum lift in their profitability up front, generally speaking, in excess of the fees that we charge. And we're able to do that because I have 20 years of experience in advertising in order to do that, and I'm the key strategist at the firm. So that should tell you something about the quality of the information that you're receiving on today's video. So with that said, okay, direct-to-consumer businesses or selling directly to and through a website when you are the manufacturer to the end consumer. A lot of upsides if you can pull it off. I'm going to go through what the benefits are, which a lot of it you don't necessarily know, should be thinking about as you make your decision to go one or the other, or actually you can do both, which is actually the best route to go, and I'm going to explain why that is in today's video. But the first thing to mention here is there's no one to misrepresent your brand. The main reason why, in my mind, you don't want to advertise and just lay all your chips with the distributors to sell all your product for you is because you can't control what they're saying and doing. Maybe they're going to say something wrong. They're not going to do it right. They're not going to represent and give your product the kind of attention and explanation that it deserves. If you control all that, you can end up getting a more consistent result, better reviews. You can get more overall sales because you can explain it right to the market. It's more scalable if you have more capable people. So the main thing is if you hire distributors, what most distributors frankly want to do is just spend as little time as possible marketing whatever you have. And ideally you market it and somebody already knows about what you're selling by the time they find it on their website, and you'll just buy it without having to talk to anybody or think very hard, because they don't want to train their staff on how to sell your own product. Or if they do, they're going to do it on a very bare minimum level. And so ultimately, what value do they have in your offering the product in your market if they're not going to consultatively market into why your product is going to be good for them and if it will be good for them? Because that's the main reason why distributors have existed for 100 plus years. You used to be able to go into an electronics store. They would actually explain which VCR that you want to buy. Now you go in there, they don't know anything. They don't know what's the difference between them. They're just trying to get you to buy something and get out, and that's it. So what's the value that the brick and mortar store has itself versus buying from the manufacturer? Well, ultimately, the only thing left is you can get it immediately versus having to wait 2 days for it to ship to you. And as soon as shipping times, there's getting to be more distribution warehouses everywhere across the country where you can sublease part of the warehouse and they get into doing, 1 day shipping. These brick and mortar stores mostly are going to start going away. There's some items that you want to, feel before you buy, but there's not going to really be enough of an edge given that the prices are higher in the retail stores. There's not enough advantage of buying from them, and which is why they're going away already. If you hire capable marketing people and also salespeople to go along with it, you'll actually do much, much better overall in terms of total sales that you can make in your company, because they're going to try much harder to market your product than they are for you. And your salesperson is going to do a lot better job selling it and consulting the customer on whether the product works for them or not better than the other companies are going to do, which most of them are going to do almost none. Hey, you want to buy it? No? Okay, fuck off. That's basically their process. Also, in terms of direct-to-consumer businesses, it's harder than it looks. Ultimately. So this is the main thing. I've seen several companies over the years come to our firm and they say, Corey, I see our distributors selling our product. I want to be able to get that money for ourselves and just cut them out. And ultimately, it almost never works out for that to work because they think that they underestimate what the distributor is doing for them. Granted, as little as they do, they still understand a little bit about marketing and they've ran those ads for years in order to sell the product. When you try to start out ads doing the same thing they are, they say, well, I just have to run the same ad. It'll work the same way. No, you have to build up reputation and history with the ad platforms, whether you're talking about Google, Facebook, or whatever, and it could take months or years to get to the same level that they are in terms of efficiency, turning the sales revenue into enough sales to offset your costs, okay, or ROI, if you will. A lot of times it can have taken 3 to 5 years to get to a strong ROI. Can you stomach running your campaign for those 3 to 5 years to get to the same ROI, or at least a year to get to the same ROI because you're doing it a little bit better than them, to displace them? You got to think about this up front. It's not like a simple switch where, the ads are on, now they're working. No, it's not that simple. Okay, now in terms of distributors and retailers, before I get into this, if you do want to go direct to consumer, you can ultimately do really well for yourself if you just find the right team to work at your company to put this program together, and it's worth it because you'll do so much more sales, as I'll talk about in a little while in this video. However, a good ad strategist is going to be 6 figures a year, not $100,000, but several $100,000 a year. Then you need designers who can make banner ads that look good and a videography for video ads that look good. You got to have programmers that can understand how to make good tracking systems, which are part of getting results on these ad platforms that run off of algorithm, and copywriters. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you might actually end up having to spend $500,000 a year in salary just to get the right team together that can actually get results. And that may seem preposterous and I'm blowing things out of the water. Good people who know how to make money, it takes nothing and turn it into something in terms of an ad program reliably and consistently. There's more demand for those people than there are people that do that work. And therefore their costs have been bid up. And you got to really get somebody from a company that's already successful and poach them away by paying them a lot more money than they're getting paid. And those people are getting paid several $100,000 a year already. There's a lot of people you want to pay $50,000, $80,000 a year that will do this for you, that'll tell you what you want to hear, but it's going to be most of the time a disappointment. If it were that easy, everybody would do it already. All your competition would have done it already. If you're going to make it work, you got to do better than your competition, assuming you have it. And that takes having higher caliber of people, unless you're going to direct them on exactly what to do and you're an ad expert, which that's obviously an opportunity in itself for some of you guys that watch this channel. But by default, most people fail trying to set up a direct-to-consumer business because they don't hire the right people. I underestimated on how much somebody who actually knows what they're doing gets paid, because somebody who's good, if you don't pay them very much, they would be silly not to just start their own business doing what you're doing or something similar, because you can make $500,000 a year no problem when you can set up a little e-commerce website for yourself. Or they thought it was going to work right away. They put all this proper effort into setting their ads up the right way to get them going, but then wait 6 months for it to really start getting some traction. So it's quite an expensive endeavor to get into it ultimately. But if you want to cut the cost up in terms of setting it up, getting to where you're turning your company into a $10 million a year company so you can afford that team or whatnot, you can reach out to us at guaranteedppc.com and I can have a conversation with you about what we can get you in terms of results, what we can guarantee for you, and that can be a shortcut way to get you from the 1 to 10 million, which we typically kind of like is our sweet spot of setting those systems up to get something going. So reach out to me if you're interested in that, because you don't need all that team initially. It's actually kind of silly to put that team together. You outsource it for a while at the very least. In my opinion, you outsource it forever, but at the very least, if you're going to make it work, you got to outsource it, because the in-house team you can afford, unless you're doing at least probably 15, 20 million a year at least, and probably 50, you're not going to afford the right people to put on that team to make it work. if we've worked in your niche market already, and if you don't want to hire an agency, we've also put together a bunch of campaigns in the past. And if we've worked in your niche market before, you can buy the winning ads and landing pages and everything else from us, campaign templates, copy paste those into your ad account and get the same results we're getting in a different geographic market. If our client in the past has not worked in the same country or whatnot as you, then you can use the campaigns there and cut out all this money and effort it's going to take to get to results, or most of it anyway. You should at least reach out to us and see if we've worked in your niche market before, because we can tell you the results you're going to get with our template, and then you would save yourself a ton of time, money, and effort figuring out all this stuff for yourself if you want to go direct to consumer. Ultimately, these templates work so damn good that we got people that start whole of their businesses from scratch with those templates. They start up the campaign with the template, they start making money, they sub out all the work, or they maybe even they take the leads and they flip them to other people. It's a great way to start a business because you know it's going to already work. And so with that said, if you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com. Now, on the other side of things, distributors and retailers, there's less startup funds generally needed to get this work, which is the main reason why people go that way. Oh, I can't afford to hire somebody who knows how to run an ads, or I've tried it and it failed. Well, let's get distributors to do it. So that is technically true. And there's no marketing team to manage. If you hire crappy marketing people, you're going to have to tell them what to do and you're going to have to ride their ass. If you hire somebody who knows what they're doing, truly A players, they don't need any guidance. You're going to say, I want to get sales. Here's the ROI I need. And they're just going to do it like we do at our firm. That potentially can be a huge headache that you're getting into if you can't afford the right team. Just telling you in advance. And then the other thing with distributors and retailers I really wanted to mention to you on this video is you need time to train people, or you're going to get a lot of questions. A lot of these retailers, because they don't train their team up very well, their salespeople, if you will, and it's a revolving door, and because it's a revolving door, they don't want to train anybody because they're too cheap to pay them what they're worth, then you get a lot of people that come in and want to buy from them, and then they're going to come to you, ask a question, and you're going to have to answer questions for people, for your distributor that should be answering those questions, and then as a result, they're taking half the profit margin, which is why I don't want to just or too reliant on distributors. Then you could say, well, I'll train the distributors so that their salespeople know how to sell it and answer questions. Well, that costs money. Why not put that effort towards just getting your ads set up the right way for yourself? And if you don't train them correctly, the salespeople are going to tell them wrong information. Then you're risking bad reviews. Then you could destroy your entire brand off of that kind of decision. Which is the other reason why you don't do affiliates as well, by the way, because affiliates will say anything to get you a sale. Well, you don't want that out there on the internet about your brand. Ultimately, if a distributor would actually train their people, even if you had to give them a training video on how to sell, answer questions, answer rebuttals, guide people on why they should buy, and go out and beat the pavement to find new customers, it would be worth it all day long. Problem is, like we've seen in the past with other clients, they'll find a big company that sells, we had a mailbox company that went out to reach out to a company who sells building materials, and they were really excited about getting distribution through them. At the end of the day, they didn't sell one freaking mailbox because these distributors don't want to do anything to make a sale. It sounds great, but then once they realize they have to actually work to make the sale, and what distributors want more than anything is somebody who already knows about your product, who just stumbles upon it on their website and then just buys, or their physical store. That's the business they ultimately want to be in, but it's not enough value. Distributors who know how to do direct to consumer now, it's slowly dying. It's just something to keep in mind. Ultimately are risking quite a bit in terms of bad reviews, going with distributors to use as a primary tool to sell your product, let alone they're not going to try very hard selling it. So you're only going to get a small amount of the sales you could get if you set up your own marketing yourself. That all said, the best of both worlds is to do both. Like I mentioned at the start of this video, you actually start with doing direct to consumer. And then as you build up a bigger and bigger campaign and it's scaling and you're putting money you're making back into more ad spend, eventually the distributors are going to come to you. You're not going to have to spend time selling them. They're going to come to you. You're in control. You must know how to sell this product and we're not doing it. Ultimately, what you do is you advertise on your website, and then you have a page on your website that says, hey, you can buy it online, or you can go to one of our 56 locations where we also sell it in store, and you'll get extra sales that way. You'll also then, as a result of, because the distributors want to see so much product move, they're not going to sell it anymore. Well, the way you ensure you get enough volume through that distributor for them to keep selling it and you get the foot traffic, from their foot traffic, get a few extra sales, is you market your brand overall as a whole so people are aware of the brand so that when they see it on the shelf, they're going to be more willing to buy it. And therefore, you're able to, once you finally force your way into those stores, you actually maintain that position because it's making money for both parties. As you get bigger and bigger, more and more people want to come to you and resell. And that's just icing on the cake, but your primary business is going direct to consumer still. That's the way I set up the companies that I also run. I have a couple e-commerce sites that I run on the side, and there's a few more of investors, and that's the way that we primarily go. You use the direct-to-consumer model to build the brand, and then the people that you want to sell your product to their customer list, they're willing to do it because you're a known brand in the space. And that's the way that makes the most money of all. Even though that can be a little bit tricky because even though the distributors come into you and you can say you have to sell it this way and you have to know this and this and this, they can still screw it up and screw up the reputation of your brand. It's the way to make the most money, but it's also not the safest way to maintain a brand as well. It can be easily fumbled. With that said, if you ultimately want to know the techniques to how to go direct to consumer, you got to know how to use techniques that are going to beat your competition. If you sell something that nobody else can do, of course you can hire a crappy team. They're going to make a campaign work for you going direct to consumer and it's going to be all peachy. That said, if you have heavy competition, you need to be able to have ads that are better than your competition and a website / landing page that's better than your competition that you're driving traffic to from those ads. And the main way you do that is you either hire somebody who's really experienced and good and cares about what they're doing, because a lot of people don't care and they're lazy in terms of people who manage ads for clients. Or you figure it out yourself. If you want to figure it out yourself and then use that as your initial step in on getting direct to consumer to work, then you do it. You watch this channel. All the information you need to be able to make millions of dollars going direct to consumer in your business is all here for free. I can say that confidently because everything that I use at our firm that works as well as doesn't work, I talk about it on this channel. I spend 40 hours a week doing ad strategy at our firm to give you the information on this channel. Ultimately, I spend my weekends sharing it and I spend my full-time job is just figuring out strategies that work. No other channel, as far as I know, does anything like that, or one basically that I know of. Most people are just talking about ads. They don't run any ads, or they run a couple ads. They don't know as a result. So if you want to really know what works, you want to subscribe to this channel. If you haven't subscribed already and listen to the information I have on this channel. You should also check out my blog while you're at it though. If you like the channel, you're going to like the blog. The blog is You can find that at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog has actual step-by-step instructions to use the strategies we're using to guarantee results for clients at our firm. So you should definitely check that out as well. And if you have any questions, by the way, about anything I'm talking about or any marketing related question, you can always leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. So feel free to ask me any questions that you would want. That all said, in terms of what I was talking about before and results here, one case study I wanted to bring up was a grow light company, indoor gardening supplies company. They were going direct to consumer. Then they tried to switch over to, they were doing a distribution business model, going through a distributor network, other websites, selling their products. They tried to go direct to consumer, and normally it's one or the other, because if you try to go both, at least when you're talking about online distributors, you're going to compete against your own distributors and it's going to piss them off. You have to pick one or the other. If you try to do both, it may happen like with the company that I saw that reached out to us and it didn't last much longer once they started to go direct to consumer, because the revenue they were relying on from their distributors to finance the direct to consumer buildup of their business started to falter. People would quit, they gave up, they didn't want to compete against the core company. Then they didn't have money to finance not only their direct-to-consumer campaigns, but their general operations, and they just simply went out of business. So it's very tricky switching from having distributors to direct-to-consumer because of that. And there's no good answer to it other than you invest as much as you can to get it working as quickly as possible so that you can switch over completely from one to the other quick itself. So that's one story I wanted to mention as well. I talked about the mailbox company, how this company had gotten several distributors, of which big companies, they didn't sell any product or very little product, and they wasted all this time to get distributors, and they ultimately didn't do anything. That same time and effort invested in making an ad campaign better would have had 100 times higher return. So that's something else to consider. And then obviously, when you think you got a distributor, once they sign that contract with you, it's over. It's not over. You got to keep following up with them. Keep answering their questions. Keep making sure they're motivated. on and on and on. So why not put that effort over here in terms of direct to consumer? We also had a mattress company. Mattress company was selling to offline brick and mortar. You also sold through like mattress review sites and like that. We put together a direct-to-consumer campaign for that company, and just by the end of the first 36 months of running ads on Google and Facebook primarily, we were able to get to where 90% of the sales revenue for that company was through the online channel, through their website, not specifically through the offline stores. And then with that, we were having to spend over 6 figures a month to do that, but we built up over a 36-month period. So that tells you how good this can be. And they started out doing about $1 million a year initially. So this blew up. Now, this was quite a while ago where it was a little bit easier to run Facebook ads. Potential is there if you know how to, you get the right team put together to put campaigns together that you need. It will blow away anything you're going to do through distributors because they barely try to sell your product. And most companies that I see that work with distributors, they will only work with certain ones that have niche expertise, such as, we had a RC supply company like Radio Control Planes. They would only sell their product through other people who got that experience. If you want to sell and you don't have that experience, you're not selling because they're not serving a big enough role in the market and the value. There's no value in the value add chain selling a product they don't know how to answer questions on. You have somebody who can answer questions for you, it's worth it. If not, it's not. And that's generally the case if you're going to go with distributors on a technical product like that. Ultimately, so with that said, if you don't know where you're kind of at and you're stuck at the level of revenue you're at, you can always reach out to me. I've been doing 30-minute coaching sessions with clients. In the past few months that I've been doing these, every single person who's got a coaching session has come back again for more advice. And what I do on those coaching sessions is to tell you, after asking a bunch of questions about your sales process, your website, your pricing strategy, I can tell you where the basic bottleneck is in your business that's stopping you from getting to the next level with your revenue growth, assuming it has nothing to do with operations as a whole. And so if you're stuck, it'll be very much to your advantage to get a second pair of eyes on what you're doing, because I've worked with hundreds of business owners like this, saw what basically works and what doesn't work as it comes to putting together something for their business that's going to scale their sales. Given a lot of you guys think your ads are the problem, it's really something else. And you got to get that patched up first before you go back to, and once you have, the ads will finally start working for yourself. You got to have a big picture view on things. So anyway, if you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com. With that said, I'm going to wrap everything out with that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said brick and mortar was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.